If you'd like to participate in the discussion or leave us feedback, you can contact us at levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/levelupyourgaming. If you like the content and want to hear more of the show, subscribing will ensure you don't miss an episode. New episodes come out almost every Wednesday. Also, please review, tell a friend about the podcast, or share with your gaming group. Now sit back and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Level Up Gaming Podcast. My name is Aaron, and joining me once again, I have Josh. Josh, how you doing today?
Well, my allergies are kicking my butt.
But you sound like Batman every time I talk to you.
It's fine. It's fine. The other half of this is that I did just order a pizza with Italian beef and giardiniera on it. And, you know, all that cheese and meat. It's not good for your lungs. You okay? Yeah.
It's perfectly good for your lungs.
It's perfectly good for your lungs. It's delicious. I don't know why anybody wouldn't order an Italian beef pizza.
I mean, again, it's a classic flavor right there. Mm-hmm. Partial to the true classic. Just put some pepperoni on that thing. It's good for me. But
yeah, but you know, every now and then you got to have a little. You got to step outside your comfort zone. You got to try something different.
Exactly. And that's why today we're going to do it once again. We're going to make a one shot.
Yeah, but I would like to propose, if I may.
Okay.
Some of our recent one shots, nay, a lot of our recent one shots have been on the light-hearted side.
Yes.
And I mean, that does bode very well for a one shot because you can just go in and have a good time. And, you know, that's very enjoyable. But I thought for today, let's set the mood. Let's make it a little darker. Let's dim the lights.
You're really embracing your inner Batman right now. You're gonna do it. You're gonna Dark Knight this right now.
We're gonna Dark Knight this. And I thought it would be fun to do not like a gritty detective story set in a city that's full of crime and pain, but you know, just something not as upbeat or slapstick.
Okay. Yeah.
So the title that I picked, with no real no thoughts other than surface ones at this point behind it, was A Song for the Hollow.
Okay.
And I think that leads to some interesting places.
Yeah, so tell me what you were thinking, because I'm starting to stew some ideas here. I literally just found out about this topic about 5 minutes ago. So,
well, the first thought in my head was, I mean, Hollow brought Hollow Knight in my head, and that's, you know, I don't know if you've played the games.
I've played Hollow Knight, yeah.
Yeah, so you know, you get your black and white, you get some dark themes. And A Song for the Hollow, the thought in my head was like sort of a Nordic post-apocalyptic, the world tree has died, has rotted from within, and you may have been tasked to go bring life back to it by singing magic back into the tree.
Okay. When you said that you wanted to do dark, gritty, so that works. I was starting to think of what would the Hollow mean in this context, and so I was thinking something along the lines of like maybe a tribute or something of that nature, like a human sacrifice. And those are those who are marked the Hollow. And so, like, I was just sort of noodling on that. I don't have as detailed of something as you have right there. So if any of that fits with something, or you think you can make that mesh a little bit with your story, let's do it. If not, we'll go down the World Tree side.
Okay. Let's mesh these things. Let's say that the world is on the brink of annihilation, that the World Tree is died, or right, or is in the process of dying, and the only way that the elders have come up with to keep it alive is to send sacrifices to the tree.
Okay. Yeah, I like it.
So those are the hollows.
Yes.
But there's got to be a better way. The party would then be, you've been selected to be the hollows. And there's always this thought that if you found the right song, you could sing life back into the tree and we wouldn't have to kill people all the time.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's roll with that. I was thinking you could also run the song, like a song for the hollow, as though like
a dirge for the dead.
A dirge for the dead, but also like it is a story of the hollow, because like you could look at like the Iliad and the Odyssey, which are poems.
Yeah.
So like that was sort of kind of the vein that I was sort of thinking on there, but we could also make it literally a song in which like that is the ultimate way to revitalize the tree. We'll get there when we get to the resolution. Haven't figured that part out yet. But perhaps that the story of the hollow, your players, and their journey to the tree in this short one shot here, they believe that perhaps they're going in to try and breathe life into the tree via, the song, maybe the song of their sacrifice, and maybe it's something else that we get to there at the end. I don't know. We'll kind of noodle around as we go through this here, but so again, we're in a dying world, and the players are the hollow, and they are sacrifices for the world.
Sacrifices that should keep the world turning for another short period of time. Maybe another year, maybe another 5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So this
sacrifice for the World Tree to keep it alive for a short time.
Yeah.
And so
I think that's a pretty good start right there. Like this, honestly, at that point, you could even make like a longer game out of this sort of thing.
This is definitely something that would lend itself to be like, you could have this be, this would be a great game to run. You can run it here as a one shot. I feel like part of the problem with one shots, and what we've talked about before, is that because you are so time constrained, everything is very focused to get you to the end, to kind of see the end of it. That's why lighthearted and camp tend to work very well in a one shot, because the stakes are very low. So in a game like this, to care about the world, to care about the situation and the gravitas of the situation, you have to really think about how do I portray that really well in a single session or two sessions. Okay, when if I let this sort of marinate and breathe and kind of focus on the journey that gets you to where you're going, maybe has more twists and turns and stuff like that, there's definitely a lot of places where you can elaborate on, I guess, any of these points that we're going to bring up as we kind of go along here. But these points will you can invest the players much more in the story of your dying world versus the players are just bringing in characters they just made that night or characters that you just gave them that night. So it's a lot tougher here. Now, in this game here, a lot of our games, we give you kind of open-ended genre settings. This is sort of a fictional Norse-esque type world. So kind of like God of War almost.
Yeah. And you can use it with systems like your standard fantasy systems, Pathfinder, D&D, but you could also do um, like World of Darkness. You could do like a gunslinger game, even. Ooh, that'd be really interesting. Um, so, but a fictional Norse world set, like at the edge of apocalypse. So if you're going to make your players care about the world, make them care about this, it really should open with like a decent bit of flavor text. Um, you know, we got our paragraph of the world has ended, and yet we remain. The skies have grown black. The land itself has drained of color. The trees have given up all their life. The only things that stand around are the ghosts of people who have yet to realize that they are dead. And yet we remain. You can really lean into it, give it some gravitas, give it some real like dreary, dark, depressing imagery, and then you join into that with but there is hope. There is the hope that life shall always remain, even when it requires sacrifice. And today, you are that sacrifice. And so, yeah, you start with a really nice sort of flavor text paragraph um, to get your players involved, to get them understanding of the world, to capture their attention. It should be strong, it should be bold, and then it leads into. I mean, you've got in here for NPCs like a tribal leader, and absolutely,
Yeah, so
I would.
I strongly envision the very first scene that you described that there. I would take you right into the action of, the lots are cast, or whatever it is, the bones were cast, and the tribal leader names you, and you've now set up the pretext of what the world is like and what you are sort of tasked to go do. Like you have the leader declare you the hollow, and you shall journey onto the world tree. And like again, you've established a tone, maintain that tone as the leader gives you your charge.
Okay, just a thought here. I know I said that the players of the Hollow, the players are the ones that are being sacrificed. And I'm just spitballing here, thinking maybe your players are going to just straight up reject it because they don't want to be the ones. Like the whole story is they're going to go and die. Um, what if their charge is to bring the sacrifice and kill them at the tree? That's their charge. That gives your players the ability to go and fight that. So it's an escort quest with a dreary ending.
I'm fine with the escort quest. This would be a total KYP on your players here. If you feel like your players are more motivated because they are the sacrifice and they must go to the ends of the earth and the world, and then make choices at the end about like whether or not they're going to sacrifice themselves, then let your players be the sacrifice. If not, then yes, let it be the you are bringing the hollow, or you are bringing the hollows, whatever it might be, plural, but you are the one who are to escort them and to ensure that they are indeed sacrificed at the foot of the world tree or wherever it is. I think both of those are very good. I would probably say I probably would say that my group of players would probably favor the escort side of things a little bit more, because they would be looking for ways to probably save the person they're supposed to execute.
Yeah,
that's just me understanding sort of the motivation of my players.
And to every game master, please look at your players and understand them.
For now, we'll go in
Yes.
that dint, but I'm just saying, really look at your players if you were to try to execute this story to get the best sense of like what would they do, you know.
Now, so I think that either way, the actual process of becoming the sacrifice to not save the world, but to give it a couple more days, to extend the world, to keep the lights on for a couple of minutes, should be like 3 tasks before the sacrifice itself, right? If we're talking Norse, we're talking like a sacrifice to keep the world tree alive or whatever it is. There should be a task you have to show your bravery. There should be a task that you show your wisdom, and there should be a like cleanse yourself of the impurities before you become. So like a brave task, a wise task, and a cleansing task.
I mean, you could sort of take this out, a la like the pilgrimage that you do in Final Fantasy X sort of thing.
Yes.
So you could do something like that, which in that all Hallows must complete a pilgrimage, and
well,
that would be fitting.
That would be your campaign also if you wanted to like turn this into a long game.
Yeah, but it allows you 3 distinct actions that you can do within the game, or 2 or 3 distinct actions, whatever it might be. And they can all be uniquely different. Like they don't have to all be combat. It is go and do this puzzle, go and seek the blessing of this person, and then go and fight through like the Valley of Ancestors. I don't know. Like this is a Norse world, something to those lines there. I think what would be very, very interesting. So I put 2 other sets of NPCs here. I said the character's family. So if the characters are going to be the sacrifice, you'd want the character's family to be present. And if the characters are not the sacrifice, you want the escort's family to be present to be pleading with the characters. So you want to impose the weight of like the cost of human life effectively, and what this person is leaving behind, and what your characters are basically facing to do. Like you're killing the daughter of this of these 2 parents, and they have multiple siblings, and like something to that effect, where it's like a lot of people will be left without somebody they can't really care about. And then the other NPC, which fits in well with these puzzles here, are the ghostly visages of the past Hallows. Okay, I think that this is how you sort of guide your players. The pilgrimage is the straightforward journey. If you're going to go follow the game as is, pilgrimage, murder, save the world. Okay, that's the that
Keep
the
the
ending
lights on,
aim.
yeah.
Keep the lights on. Okay, live to fight another year. Okay, the ghostly visages of Hallows Past should give you the concept of what they went through and what they've learned. So that way, whether what you're going to do the trials still, but you learn something about the end here, which allows you to circumvent the sacrifice, thus achieving the better ending. Okay, so like that would be the goal of the game in my mind. And again, if you disagree, speak now.
No, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself in my thoughts here, but yeah, you mentioned Final Fantasy X, and like that is just like right in my brain for the whole ending now. So good job, good job. But I like the.
I mean, like this is effectively Final Fantasy X.
It is. Good job. It's been forever since I played that one too. But I like the ghostly visages attending to you, and they could be around the tasks as well. They could be these are the places where these visages either shown or failed in their quest or whatever it was. And so like if you've got the be brave task, now it could be being brave could be a combat, but it could also be a situation where the players have to face like a wall of fire, a wall of fire and step through, or take a leap of faith, or like there's options here. It doesn't have to be a straight combat encounter. It could be a puzzle where they have to decide, which one is the right one, which path is the right path, and there's like the easy path, and then there's the scary path, and the scary path is the right path to go on because the easy path is problems.
A set of trials in which your players must exude roles to express the bravery effectively. So like something I'm thinking of here is obviously now when you're talking about trials and stuff like that too, I'm kind of going to like The Last Crusade and like be brave. Like he steps off the ledge and it lands on the the ledge that you can't see. And so like that would be quintessential be brave moment. You would want a bunch of situations that were sort of like that, but also that maybe would require some feats of strength associated to them. So like the players might be able to you'd want to just be able to work in some different ways into how to get the players kind of physically involved and tussling with the tasks in front of them potentially, because the brave one specifically to me sort of calls for that sort of thing. So like, which is like to have them take that leap of faith, like in The Last Crusade. That's that's a very cool moment in the movie, but at the same time, to deliver that to your players without there being some sort of maybe physical feedback or like combative style role or something like that, I feel like there's not a lot of like impact that you can do on the other end of that besides kind of telling like a telltale narrative story.
Yeah.
Which, I just trying to think of how do you extend that be brave, which is make sure that the players have to do some things that, have real stakes in the be brave situation here, that, failed rolls mean your players, could meet, harm or injury or demise along the way. Otherwise, the be brave section doesn't hold as much weight.
Which is, of course, why the easy way through this is a combat encounter. Because this is your straight up, like, be brave. You've got a big beefy guy or multiple guys that are coming at you, and your job is just to stand up to them.
Again, that's a way you can do that.
Yeah.
But you can also have it be that you are like, you have to navigate this room of, the swirling saws that come like, zipping out of the, like those require rolls, but you aren't fighting anybody. It's, the stakes are, though, if I miss the roll, I'm going to get buzzsawed. Okay. Like, I might die here.
Honestly, I think that you could have a couple of these. Like, Be Brave could be a section. And you might have the
I think it's a bunch of tests. It's
followed by a room full of buzzsaws, followed by a combat encounter that isn't necessarily like a full combat encounter. It could just be, it could easily be a social encounter that could be a combat encounter, depending on how your players play it. But they could use intimidation or like insight to see that this person is bluffing to be scarier than they are and to stand up to them. And that might in itself be brave. So give your players options, give them multiple paths through a thing, and let them come up with ways to be brave in the situations
Yeah.
you provide.
I'm totally on board with that. Obviously, Be Wise would be your quintessential puzzle. I guess that this would be more of a mental style encounter. You're charging your players to do. I'm struggling to think of like what I would necessarily have them do. So if you get a good idea, bring it in here. But anything that would have them sort of test their mettle of a situation, be able to maybe see the right path or choose the correct path. This is where a maze sort of thing that has some very unique clues. Like you're just going through a couple of forks in the maze.
I was thinking a maze, but I was also thinking, okay, hear me out. Split the party. You have a fork, and like both the people have to be on both sides in order. Like you have to hit a switch here to open a door there, and you have to solve a puzzle here to open the door there. So they have to split the party, and they have to do it in a way that it's balanced.
Who takes your sacrifice?
I know that's the problem. That is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. So I would not be opposed to splitting the party, but the real question is who takes your sacrifice, and then you there's a lot more onus on the players that take the sacrifice potentially, because if the sacrifice were to die or be met with the
like if you absolutely had like a sacrifice that you were escorting, there is the third path, which only the sacrifice can walk. And it is up to people on either side to protect the sacrifice as they make the journey through it.
Okay, so I don't know how this would work yet, but
imagine
that the sacrifice instead, and the Be Wise is more like the players are now like game pieces on a chessboard, okay, or something similar, okay, and the sacrifice is now elevated above the chessboard, and the sacrifice is moving things along the chessboard or like whatever the game board would be. And so this now can be a combination of like smarts versus smarts and a little bit of physicality potentially, depending on how you do it, because this could be like, I'm sort of thinking of like those like statue knights from like Legend of Zelda or something. Like they are all around the board as well, and they're moving in concert. Or maybe the sacrifice is trying to solve like the game itself, and you are now playing the game sort of independent of the sacrifice. So you still have to play the game. You have to follow specific rules, but the sacrifice is just doing something, but he's separated from the party. So like it's less stake on what do we do with the sacrifice, and let the players sort of the players are now trying to actively help and kind of win this game that the sacrifice is playing.
Okay. I like the idea of a game. It would be like an encounter. Not like a full combat encounter, but I would put it in like initiative order, unless you're doing like Daggerheart or something like that. But what I would do is it would be full on layer action style thing where your players have to get from one side of the board to the other side of the board. They've got to create a path for the sacrifice. They've got to get them across. And every move your players make, there is a reaction move from the board.
How about this? How about you establish the rules of the board?
But it has to be rule based. It would have to be so that your players, it's not you versus them, it's them versus the rules that you've set up.
Yeah, so you establish the rules of the board. Your players get their actions, okay, in a initiative order. At the end of the initiative, the sacrifice always goes, and the sacrifice gets one of 3 choices. Okay, and the players decide which one the sacrifice chooses. So that way they have more input on what is going to happen on the board, but it's not completely left up to the GM. Or maybe you say, I want you to do this. You call that out, and you make a perception to see if the sacrifice hears, and then you choose a random one if they don't. Okay, yeah. So like, you can sort of set back your players by doing the wrong thing a little bit, and you can, improve your players' odds by them delivering the right commands to the sacrifice. So I think that would be a fun thing to do. That seems like an interesting encounter overall. I'm not going to go into all the details of what that might be. This is a loose guideline on how to do that, but yes, this would probably take a little bit of thinking to work out there.
But it could be real fun.
I think that this would be great fun, actually, to have something of this type.
And if it's designed well, it becomes like a real focal point of the game. Like, oh my God, do you remember when we did that thing? So then the last part is the cleansing ritual, which, I mean, could just be simply like a big puddle of
water. I was saying that each one of these should be like physical, mental, and then one social. So the cleansing ritual almost feels like you're going to somebody to have the cleansing sacrifice done. Cleanse. And so this is probably your last talking place, and probably the most important place to put this would be at the end, because the cleansing of the sins will give you the details on what you kind of need to have to go forward. Now, if I was going to put a setback along the way here, I would put it at the cleansing of your sins. And the reason why is that you have a third party who has connections to other people. We've already established family members. Well, the priest who cleanses your sins, or the shaman or whoever it might be, they're connected to your sacrifice. And I would have them steal the sacrifice.
Okay.
Or again, this is an idea, because I don't want to see them die, and this world is already perishing before us. So I'd rather have my time with them selfishly. So it's a very kind of human emotion to take the sacrifice away. I don't know if that fits the best here, but you could have a very long. I feel like this is a good point in which you introduce like your last hollows, and you're kind of able to divulge the nature of what has been happening and how to rectify the situation as a whole.
Yeah. See, what I was thinking at this point, the sacrifice, because of course you mentioned Final Fantasy X, I had actually been thinking this before that, and then you're like, you said that, and it just popped in my head, like, oh my God, that is exactly how it ends. Was that there is, like, the tree has not died. The tree is being poisoned or has some sort of rot at its base. Mm-hmm. And the sacrifices are there to appease the rot more than it is to keep the tree alive. Right? And instead of fighting the I can't believe I'm saying this, the root cause, That was an unintentional pun, and I hate myself at this point because I wish I had come up with that. Instead of fighting the root cause, you're just dealing with the symptoms. And that's really, during the cleansing, you could learn that. I'm assuming that, with the Be Brave, the Be Wise, the cleansing, each one of those spots is proctored. That's a good word for that. Proctored by the spirits of the hollows that went before. Right?
Yes, that would make sense.
So you've got all these social encounters that are happening, but they're not with they're with the spirits of those that have died already. And the cleansing of the sins, I think that in order to enter into these last holy places, the characters my thought for the cleansing instead of like a stealing thing would be that make it a social encounter, but make it a social encounter that the players have to like actually deal with. That everybody needs to acknowledge their own character shortcomings, like their own that the character's flaws. And you don't have to have pre-made in your characters, but the players should like be tasked with that. Like you need to come up with something that your character has done, a shortcoming that you have to admit to. Now that is part of their history, right? So it's a little bit of role playing. It makes the players feel more for their characters and connect more with them. And then you find out that now that you've told me this, I need to tell you that there is no, like the sacrifice does not nourish the tree. It just prevents the rot from spreading.
Okay, yeah. No, I like that. That probably works better overall. So, what is your setback then? Sorry, I didn't follow.
That the sacrifice doesn't.
Oh, the sacrifice isn't going to do anything.
Yeah, it's just going to prevent the rot. So that's it's just that their efforts are in vain. There's no way to appease this. It will always fall apart. And that there's something else wrong that nobody's addressing. But that everybody that's made it this far is held to secrecy, is, by way of their cleansing.
Yeah, no, that would make sense. I mean, does that mean that the people who escort the previous one, a la Final Fantasy X, become part of the problem?
I assume, like
they get left behind to become part of the problem.
It could easily be that there is no escape here. That everybody that's on the escort is destroyed. And that's just how it's going to be. Like there's one person that's accepted as the hollow. That's the person that they actually need to sacrifice. And then everyone else that goes with it is in fact also murdered as part of this. And that's also,
I guess that's what you could learn is part of the, the cyclical nature of what is going on. Mm-hmm. And so thus now we get to our climax. So your climax is, again, at this point, your players have learned the things about, what they're doing and their actions, and they could go forth and just execute their actions and live to see the next year or whatever it is, or have the next year come, or they could they can go forth and do what they need to do. So you meet at the base of the root, like at the roots of the tree or wherever the sacrifice is supposed to happen. And you discover the thing that you're sacrificing to. So it's probably not the tree itself. It's probably a creature or something that sits there at the tree that's poisoning the tree.
Mhm.
So, let's go full Dark Souls here. Do you light the bonfire, or do you extinguish the flame for humanity?
Yeah, and I
So
think that I think it's very important at this point that uh, whatever happens, like the tree is going to die,
we
and
need
that
to pause
yeah.
right here real quick. I'll be right back. Probably in like 5-10 minutes. Hannah apparently threw up everywhere.
Oh no!
I'll be right back. All right, and we're back. There's a little bit of a situation that I had to deal with, a little emergency with my daughter. I am back now, so we were talking about the conclusion of the game, and we're going to return to that here.
A messy conclusion, if you will. There's stuff everywhere in this part, right? just an absolute horror show of vitriol everywhere as you make it to the base of the tree.
Yes.
You said it was a monster that has spewed poison all over the roots.
A monster, or maybe it is somebody from the tribe from old who is now implanted themselves into the tree. There's different ways that you can make this work. I think with the idea of like so like again, two ways you can play this. You can sort of play it like the Eldritch Horror style, which is that you have this kind of big bad nebulous evil that you can now see, like it's physically manifest to itself, but your players would be helpless to stop it should they physically try to engage. So something else must be done to deal with it, or it could be like a physical monster that your players can fight off. Or like I said, that person who had fused themselves to the tree and is poisoning the tree or whatever it is. So take your pick on the way you want to go with this here, but by sacrificing, it satiates the the big monster, the one that you can either beat or the one that you can just see is destroying the tree. Or it satisfies this person who's or it sort of cleanses what this person is doing for the time being, or stymies the poison. So
yeah, I was even thinking that one thing that could be done at this point would be instead of it just being like a defeat the evil, or like face off against the evil, be it doomed or not, to save the world and stop the poison of the tree. The tree could be like beyond repair, right? But there's even the thought like, here's the monster that takes the sacrifice. You feed the beast to with the sacrifice to nourish the tree for a couple more days, sort of thing. But that's, if the tree dies, it doesn't mean that the world dies. It could just be moving to its next stage. And
yeah, so like that is very logical to that sentiment there, which is that the tree doesn't necessarily need to exist, or perhaps the tree will survive in some capacity regardless of the loss of whatever this entity is.
Or, it's just the next stage. It's,
Yes.
death is not necessarily the end of the world. It's moving to its next thing. And it's people, holding on long past the time that are causing all the strife and pain. And it's up to the players to make that decision. So I think that there should be a beast. And I think that the sacrifice is made to the beast, to nourish the beast to feed the beast that nourishes the tree, right?
Yes.
And this beast is chained and trapped, and so it's the player's choice: do you sacrifice it to the beast, or if you just decide not to sacrifice, the beast is still there. Somebody else is going to come and be sacrificed, right? So
You you have to find a way to fell or be rid of the beast.
Yeah.
Okay. Like whether or not that means the tree dies at the end of the day is irrelevant. The only other option besides sacrifice is the beast must be destroyed.
Purged. Yeah. And so that's the choice that is made there. And that's your conclusion. That's your climax. That is your players make the choice to continue the tradition and keep the world moving for a little bit of time. And that's the decision they've made. So when they go back to the village, they're bound to secrecy about this because I killed somebody. I decided it was better for me to live another day having killed this person than to face tomorrow with a clear conscience, or to go and destroy the beast, knowing that I may have doomed everyone.
Yes. Ultimately, I think the one that you want to lead your players into is the Brave New World, destroy the beast.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, that's the Final Fantasy ending.
That's the one you want. So the goal is to destroy the beast in Brave New World. And so I'm going to make the assumption that that's the resolution here. So again, with Feed the Beast, and I sort of alluded to this, if you feed the beast, your players don't make it back either. It is their end as well. The players don't come back from that. That's one of the things that you learn along the way, is that those who escort don't return. Okay, so so feed the beast. Like again, that wouldn't be introduced later on. That's something that you learn as you go along. So it gives them more motivation to fell the beast and be able to see the new day. So I'm going to go with the resolution of fell beast so again, feed the beast resolution. The world continues on. You kind of reiterate what you did at the beginning of the game. You reiterate that one more time, and then you talk about the way of the world, and that the world will go on for one more year, 10 more days, whatever it might be. Okay. Resolution number 2, which is destroy the beast. The players destroy the beast. I don't know how you destroyed this beast yet. I haven't figured that out. I don't really care how you do it. So you want to have a big old brouhaha, make that happen. You want to make it more, something that you learned along the way to help fell the beast. Maybe it is the song that we want to talk to. You can sing the song into the world tree, which kills the beast. The beast absolutely hates smooth jazz. I don't know. So
I figure at this point it's look at the clock. This is supposed to be a one shot. It's getting on that 4-hour range, and your players are getting sleepy. Sing a song. Your play, it's sitting at 3 hours, and your players jonesing for more because they love the world. Big fight sequence. Leave it. Have that a little bit open. And it could be just there's choices, there's options. The song into the world tree could even be, it may not necessarily be singing into the world tree, but as you get there, there's music, and it's been tainted, and the music is from the tree itself. That's the song of life that is coming up, and it's been tainted by this beast. I think that you could include music several times with this whole thing. There's as you're leaving the village in the first place, escorting the sacrifice, the village comes out and sings a song for the Hollow as they leave. When you get to each one of these places, when you complete the Be Brave, the Hollows that have passed before. They sing to the party about their bravery. The same thing with the wise. There's music at the resting place for the cleansing. And that part of that whole ritual is to let the music wash through you as the music does, as you release the sins of your past. And then, yeah, when you get to the tree, to the actual roots where the beast is, the music is all around you. The music of life, the music of hope, the music of future and past, all woven together in a beautiful tapestry. But underneath it all, there is a dissonant note that is the beast, that is ruining the sound of life, that is tainting the music, and but also sustaining it. And I think it would be really interesting that once you have destroyed the beast, you get that option to destroy the beast, and the music stops. And for the first time in a long time, possibly the first time in these players' lives, there is silence. There is no more music. There is no sound permeating their entire lives. And I think that as a resolution is like what happens next.
Yes. I like that.
So we can leave the song in there. It can be, throughout it, there's a song at the beginning, there's a song in the middle.
Again, the song could be metaphorical. The song could be part of the actual resolution. I leave that up to you. But I think the idea is that, Brave New World is what you're going to get out of this.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not how you spell consequences at all. Cool. There we go. Yes. What do we need for the maps? I
started writing down some stuff here. For sure,
you need the game board.
We need the game board.
I think it'd be really interesting not to have like a full-on map, but like a concept map. Like, here's the tree, here's the village, and here's a dotted line that leads your way through it. Sort of like a winding thing with like X's for the trial of the brave, the trial of the wise, the cleansing of the soul, and then the tree of life. And so you'd have that as a visual for your players to see, but it doesn't necessarily need to be like, okay, how many steps you taking along the path to the tree of life?
It is a loose map. It's like somebody like go here. Here's the mountain range. After mountain range, go here. Cross the desert. Go here. These are big, gigantic, landmarks you can't miss, sort of thing.
Yeah,
that's how that's the sort of map you're looking at here. Not to scale. It's just you're going to look for these 3 landmarks, and those will be your trials.
If you wanted to turn this into a longer, like a campaign.
If this were to be a longer campaign, I would do a bigger world map. Okay,
yeah, and I would
make a concerted effort to make
through,
yes,
like a forest or something to get to the first. You'd have to cross the swamps of blah 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 to get to the second one. You'd have to go through the fields of blah 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 and cross the mountains of blah 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 to get to the cleansing, and then the mountain range that leads to where the world tree is. And all along the way, there may be other villages, and you could have a whole ton of stuff spacing this out. But as a one shot, be brave, be wise, be clean, make a decision, save the world or don't.
Yes.
Yeah. Handouts.
I thought it'd be fun if you were doing this in person to have tribute tokens. And even if you're not doing it in person, to have designed potential 3 tribute tokens with probably the usage of AI or something like that that your players would receive along the way. Like you can display them as handouts, as something to go along with. I just think it adds a little something to the game there, that your players are literally achieving something with each of these tasks.
That'd be nice. If you have like a button maker, you could make little buttons and make the players wear them. Like, I'm brave, I'm wise, I'm clean. And then, like,
again, we're trying to spark a certain tone here. I feel like that's
okay. You know what? I was feeling down when we started this, and I'm feeling better. That's what I love about these Let's Make a One Shots, is that I do feel better after we've worked through them.
yes.
And like,
is there anything else that you think would make a good handout?
Yeah, but I don't know exactly how this would work, and this requires a bit of effort. I would hand out a hymn.
If you're an overachiever like Josh,
Like, you take a song that people know, like a classic, a favorite, and like change the words to match your tone, and it becomes the song that is sung at these points. And like there may be a different verse for each thing as they get to it. That's definitely a KYP thing. But it might be interesting.
All right, I'll put it in there. I'll put a question mark with it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll leave that one up to. This is something I 100% guarantee you that if Josh ran the story, he would create the hymn. You would be that. You're that guy.
I've got ideas already. That's why I mentioned this. As for mobs, definitely, the beast.
You need the beast at the end.
Thing. And enemies from the trials. Yeah, you'd have enemies that you'd have to face off along the way, but your combat encounters would be minimal at best.
Again, these are things where the purpose of the enemies is not necessarily to be like, here are my guys, they have 100 hit points and you have to defeat them. Like, that's not the purpose of them necessarily. Okay, in the Brave trial, it is literally about being, it's about showing your courage in situations that potentially could be detrimental to you. Okay. Mm-hmm. So like the trap rooms that you're dodging things through, the pits that you're jumping into because you're brave, or taking the right path because you're brave. Okay. And so if you were to encounter an enemy in one of those trials, it doesn't have to have any like backbone behind it in terms of rigidity. It literally has to be the thing that it can harm the players, but the players can vanquish it in a blow. Okay, that is still,
they have to stand up to it. Yeah,
they have to stand up to it. It's still a thing they need to stand up to, and so thus, it needs to exist and be there.
And same thing with the wise, is if you have a combat encounter in that wise section, it's less about defeating the enemy and more about outsmarting it.
In the board scenario, the game board scenario, I'm assuming they're enemy pieces and they will attack you. Thus, you must have an enemy that has some stats to be able to do so. But it's not about, I'm going to break the pieces, okay? Because that might be outside the bounds of the rules. Maybe your player character can't do that in the game. But you certainly need to be able to defend against whatever is thrown at you, and thus you must have some enemies that can attack you there.
Yeah, and the whole point of the game is to traverse the board, not to defeat the bad guys. So, and then the beast itself, like we said, look at the clock and decide whether or not it's going to be a fight or it's going to be a
I'd probably set up two different beasts, two different styles for encounters, just so you're prepared for one or the other, depending on how long your game is already run. Especially if you're doing this as a one shot.
But I think the key thing to remember throughout this story, because this is very much a very stylistic story, is that you're going to want to spend some time on that flavor text. Like throughout the story, you're going to spend as much time as possible describing the environment that they're in, what's going on, what the enemies are like, what the scene is like. Very moody. I like the idea of music being throughout it. Describe it. Describe the feelings that are in the music. Emotions that are happening. Melody, if you can. Just that whole like mood.
Again, this game is a lot about setting
mood.
the tone here. That this is a very tone-based game. We're not going with the traditional kind of lighthearted game. This is supposed to have a heavy feel to it here. Make sure that is reiterated in the actions and the things that you do and the environment that you traverse.
Yeah, I like it. I think this would be real fun. And this could be, like I said, we designed it as a short story, as a quick one shot, but this could easily be a longer game.
Oh, this is definitely something you could run for multiple nights. You could very easily get a very long campaign out of this. You could get a very medium sized campaign out of this. There's a lot of legs to this one.
And I think now we have done this before, and we've talked about this. Is that at the end of this, is there a campaign afterwards?
The campaign after this is the new world.
Yeah, it really is. It's you've decided to doom the world, and what does that mean? How do
we put quotations around Doom.
Yeah. Obviously, Doom is in quotations because if you're doing a long campaign, it's not I've played games where
it could be the end of the world. You could literally do the apocalypse story right here. You've destroyed the world tree. But it could also be that it fades. The world is fading. You are in the decay of the world. It's a very different type of game there. Still very intriguing. Or you're in the new world campaign. Maybe there is a way to plant a new seed, create a new world tree. Revive your world.
Interesting. You kill the beast and you find a tree for the world seed.
Yeah.
A seed for the world tree. Oh my God, I had that completely rearranged. Yes. You find a seed and you must find a place in the world that still has life and light that you can plant it. And that's a campaign right there.
Yes. I like it. You have anything else you want to add to this one, Josh?
Well, hopefully I'm in a better mood because this was dark.
It's dark and brooding for us.
It's very Final Fantasy X, and yeah, I like that. I might go back and play that game again.
There we go. If you have any thoughts on the Let's Make a One Shot or a recommendation for a Let's Make a One Shot, let us know. levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com or facebook.com/levelupyourgaming. The podcast is on all your favorite podcast sites. It's on YouTube, so you can smash the like button there, subscribe at your favorite podcast site, review it, recommend it to friends, all those good things. And that'll wrap us up for the week. So for Josh, I'm Aaron. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.